If you're a diehard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. When the Cleveland Browns hired Paul DePodesta as their chief strategy officer back in January of 2016, the announcement carried a certain kind of buzz, a sense that this move was supposed to drag the franchise out of the mud and into a new era of football intelligence. DePodesta wasn't just any front office addition. He was a big name, a mind from the world of baseball analytics, famous for inspiring Moneyball, the Billy Beane story that changed how front offices looked at sports. Browns owner Jimmy Haslam seemed convinced that this was exactly the kind of thinking that could transform a franchise that had been mired in mediocrity for decades. But now, almost a decade later, Browns fans are still wondering, what exactly does Paul DePodesta do? And more importantly, has any of it actually worked? Because if we're going strictly by results, the answer doesn't paint a pretty picture. Since DePodesta's hiring, the Cleveland Browns are 55-98-1. And that record, frankly, says more than any fancy organizational chart ever could. Back in 2016, the Browns were coming off a miserable 3-13 campaign that cost head coach Mike Pettine and general manager Ray Farmer their jobs. The organization was desperate for a vision, for direction, for anything that resembled consistency. Haslam wanted to build something smarter, something data-driven, something that could separate the Browns from the old-school gut-feeling approach that had left them spinning their wheels for years. Enter DePodesta, whose belief in analytics was supposed to help Cleveland zig while the rest of the NFL zagged. The idea was to combine brainpower with boldness. Hugh Jackson, one of the league's hottest coaching candidates after his success with the Bengals, was brought in to be the football mind, while DePodesta and newly promoted executive Sashi Brown would handle the roster building and strategy side of things. But the experiment failed spectacularly, in ways that still sting today. Between 2016 and 2017, the Browns went 1-31, a record so bad it almost didn't feel real. One win in 2 years. Fans were embarrassed, the city was frustrated, and the supposed cutting-edge analytics movement looked more like a science project gone wrong. Sashi Brown's philosophy of stockpiling draft picks and cap space sounded smart on paper, but on the field, the team looked lifeless. There were no leaders, no chemistry, no progress. And while DePodesta wasn't the one calling plays, he was the one shaping the overall vision. That vision, at the time, looked completely lost. So, the Browns did what they always do when things go south. They blew it all up. Haslam shifted gears again, this time swinging back toward football experience. John Dorsey, fresh off building the Kansas City Chiefs Foundation, was brought in as the new general manager. Dorsey was supposed to fix what analytics couldn't. He came with a reputation for talent evaluation, for finding studs in the draft, and bringing in proven playmakers. For a moment, it looked like maybe, just maybe, Cleveland was finally onto something. Dorsey's tenure brought in players like Baker Mayfield, Denzel Ward, Nick Chubb, and Jarvis Landry. There was actual talent on the roster, and there was a sense that things were turning. But even with that influx of skill, the Browns couldn't find alignment. The front office and coaching staff were constantly at odds. Hugh Jackson was fired mid-season, and his replacement, Freddie Kitchens, seemed completely overwhelmed by the pressure of running an NFL team. He had the personality, sure, and the players liked him, but game management, discipline, and consistency were glaring issues. The Browns finished the 2019 season as one of the league's biggest disappointments, and once again, Haslam cleaned house, firing both Kitchens and Dorsey. Enter Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry, handpicked to finally bring stability to the franchise. Stefanski came from the Minnesota Vikings, where he'd earned a reputation as a measured, calm, and analytical offensive coordinator. Berry, young and sharp, was exactly the type of general manager DePodesta had long envisioned: Ivy League educated, process-oriented, and open to data-driven decision-making. Together, with DePodesta as the architect behind the scenes, the Browns promised a new era of alignment. The word became a mantra: no more inner fighting, no more drastic pivots, just a shared vision between football minds and analytics experts. For a while, it looked like that alignment might actually pay off. In 2020, Stefanski led the Browns to an 11-5 record and their first playoff appearance in nearly 2 decades. They didn't just make the playoffs, they won a game, taking down the hated Pittsburgh Steelers at Heinz Field. That night felt like an exorcism for Cleveland fans, a long overdue moment of joy that seemed to validate everything the organization had been preaching. But fast forward to today, and that hope feels distant. Stefanski is now 41-48 in his sixth season, and while the Browns have made the postseason twice under his leadership, consistency has been their biggest enemy. They've been plagued by injuries, inconsistency at quarterback, and a sense that the team's core, the grand strategy envisioned by DePodesta, has lost its way. The most glaring issue came with the Deshaun Watson trade. In one of the boldest, most controversial moves in modern NFL history, the Browns traded for Watson and handed him a fully guaranteed $230 million contract. The move was supposed to make them contenders overnight, a statement that the Browns were done being the league's punching bag. Instead, it's become a cautionary tale. Watson's off-field baggage, coupled with poor play and injuries, has left the Browns stuck with a massive contract and little flexibility. It's a decision that feels like the antithesis of the analytical, careful approach DePodesta was supposed to represent. How did a franchise so focused on long-term sustainability take such a reckless gamble? Now, as the 2025 season unfolds, the Browns find themselves right back where they started, struggling to find direction. Stefanski's calm demeanor is starting to wear thin with fans who are tired of hearing about getting better next week. The offense looks broken, the quarterback situation is a revolving door, and the roster feels bloated and uninspired. Watching the Browns on Sundays has become an exercise in frustration. And it's not just the fans who are losing patience. Inside the organization, whispers about accountability are growing louder. How much longer can DePodesta continue to be the invisible man behind a failing system? Adding to the uncertainty, trade rumors have begun swirling as the NFL trade deadline approaches. After another embarrassing offensive outing against the Pittsburgh Steelers, where the Browns failed to score a single touchdown and barely averaged 5 yards per pass attempt, insiders believe the team will become sellers. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reported that running back Jerome Ford could be on the move, with the Browns ready to turn the backfield over to rookies Quinshon Judkins and Dylan Sampson. It's a classic DePodesta-style move: clear out veterans, embrace youth, stockpile assets. But after nearly a decade of hearing the same script, Browns fans aren't buying it anymore. The supposed long-term strategy hasn't delivered long-term results. It's delivered frustration. Even with the potential trades of Ford, or perhaps tight end David Njoku, the question remains: what's the plan? What's the next step in this grand strategic vision? Because if the plan is just to keep recycling quarterbacks, drafting prospects, and hoping one of them pans out, then this is just the same story in a different year. You can't sell the future forever when the present keeps looking this bleak. And that's the heart of the frustration. DePodesta was brought in to modernize the Browns, to make them one of the smartest, most forward-thinking organizations in football. But nearly 10 years later, they're no closer to being a contender than they were in 2016. The analytics haven't translated into wins. The revolving door of coaches and general managers has only underscored how little stability the team has found. And while other teams, like the Chiefs, Ravens, and even the Lions, have built coherent systems rooted in culture and identity, the Browns are still searching for theirs. The irony is painful. The Browns once prided themselves on patience and process, yet they've spent a decade chasing quick fixes under the very leadership that preached long-term thinking. The Moneyball approach that worked wonders in baseball just hasn't clicked in football's chaotic ecosystem. You can't quantify leadership. You can't plug chemistry into a spreadsheet. And you can't rely on data to mask poor judgment calls, like trading for a quarterback who derails your entire franchise identity. Now, as Cleveland faces another losing season, the numbers tell a story of their own. 55 wins, 98 losses, and 1 tie since DePodesta's arrival. That's not just a bad record. It's a legacy of failure disguised as innovation. The fan base has every right to demand answers. Because while players, coaches, and executives have come and gone, one man has remained constant through it all: Paul DePodesta. He's the through line in nearly every Browns era of the last decade. And at some point, the accountability has to find its way to his office. The Browns don't just need a new quarterback or a few trades. They need a reset of their entire philosophy. They need a leader who can blend intelligence with instinct, data with feel, and structure with adaptability. Until that happens, Cleveland will remain stuck in this endless cycle, a team that talks about being smart but keeps finding new ways to lose. The strategy that was supposed to save them has become their biggest question mark. And unless something drastic changes, it might soon be time for the Browns to admit that the Moneyball era in Cleveland football has run its course. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. The NFL world is buzzing tonight, and not in a way that brings relief to the Cleveland Browns. Rumors and whispers have taken over social media, and insiders are saying that Myles Garrett, the star defensive end known for his explosive plays and on-field intensity, has absolutely lost his cool. Sources close to the team claim that Garrett's latest comments regarding rookie wide receiver Shedeur Sanders have sent shockwaves through the Browns' locker room and beyond. According to the whispers circulating among beat reporters and team insiders, Garrett reportedly made a statement so sharp, so cutting, that it has left teammates, coaches, and fans in disbelief. It wasn't a simple critique of performance or a casual observation. This was a full-on verbal bombshell that insiders suggest could reshape dynamics within the team. The exact wording of Garrett's comment hasn't been officially released, but those who claim to have heard it describe it as impactful, unfiltered, and raw. One source even hinted that it was the kind of statement that could make headlines not just in Cleveland, but across the NFL. The tension is palpable, and fans are already speculating wildly about the implications. Could this mark the start of a locker room conflict? Or is it simply the fiery passion of a veteran pushing a rookie to reach his potential? The line between motivation and criticism has never seemed so thin. Garrett's reputation precedes him. He's not someone who minces words, and he's never been afraid to speak his mind. But insiders are emphasizing that this time, the remarks were different. They weren't the usual grumbles about team strategy or the occasional public jab at opponents. Instead, Garrett's words were directed squarely at Shedeur Sanders, the young talent stepping into the NFL spotlight under the immense pressure of expectations. Sanders, a player whose name alone brings echoes of legacy and promise, has been under scrutiny since his rookie season began. Analysts and fans alike have been dissecting every play, every drop, and every touchdown opportunity, debating whether Sanders' potential truly matches the hype surrounding him. Garrett's statement, reportedly laced with sharp criticism, has added fuel to an already intense debate. Some insiders suggest that Garrett questioned Sanders' readiness, his work ethic, or even his approach to the game on a fundamental level. Others hint that Garrett's tone was more personal, implying that Sanders has yet to earn his stripes in a locker room filled with seasoned veterans. Regardless of the exact wording, the fact that this story is spreading like wildfire is undeniable. Sports media outlets are already framing it as a potential turning point in the Browns' season, raising questions about team cohesion, leadership, and the balance between experience and raw talent. Within the Browns organization, sources say that reactions have been mixed. Some teammates are reportedly backing Garrett, pointing to his championship experience and the credibility he brings to the defense. They argue that his words, while harsh, could serve as a wake-up call for Sanders, pushing him to elevate his game to match the intensity and commitment of the league's elite. Others, however, express concern. They worry that such a public expression of frustration could create rifts within the locker room, undermining trust and collaboration. Coaches are said to be in damage control mode, meeting with players individually and attempting to redirect focus toward team goals and the upcoming slate of games. Behind closed doors, there's reportedly a mix of tension and introspection, with some veterans acknowledging the necessity of tough feedback while recognizing that the manner in which it's delivered can have unintended consequences. Sanders himself has not made a public statement yet, though insiders hint that the rookie is taking the criticism seriously. Some sources describe him as reflective, almost contemplative, taking mental notes while working on his skills in practice sessions. Others suggest there's a simmering determination, a desire to prove Garrett and the doubters wrong. Meanwhile, the rumor mill has gone into overdrive. Fans and pundits alike are dissecting every possible implication of Garrett's statement. Social media platforms are flooded with threads analyzing his tone, speculating on his intentions, and predicting how Sanders might respond. Some commentators frame this as a classic rookie versus veteran scenario, arguing that tensions of this nature have historically led to either breakout performances or public feuds. Others suggest that Garrett's comments are symptomatic of a larger narrative, a team grappling with high expectations, internal pressure, and the weight of a franchise trying to reclaim its position in the league. In sports culture, moments like this are magnified. They become more than just words. They become symbols of leadership, mentorship, and sometimes discord. As such, the Garrett-Sanders dynamic is now being viewed not just as a personal clash, but as a litmus test for the Browns' locker room environment. Will this spark a period of growth, or will it fester into tension that could affect performance on the field? Only time will tell, but the speculation alone has kept fans riveted, waiting for every update and analyzing every clip from practice or interviews for signs of fallout or reconciliation. Some insiders are already hinting at possible scenarios. One theory gaining traction is that Garrett's frustration stems from the immense pressure the team is under to perform in the current season. The Browns are a team with playoff aspirations, and every game carries the weight of expectation. In this context, Garrett's critique of Sanders could be interpreted as a demand for accountability, a push to ensure that every player operates at maximum intensity. Others argue that the comments may reflect a generational clash, a tension between the seasoned mindset of a defensive stalwart and the fresh energy of a rookie navigating the complex landscape of professional football. Analysts are breaking down past examples of similar interactions, citing instances where veteran players' critiques have either inspired rookies to elevate their game or led to public disputes that overshadowed team performance. This historical lens adds another layer to the conversation, framing Garrett's remarks as potentially pivotal in defining the trajectory of Sanders' rookie season and perhaps even shaping the Browns' overall performance in the months ahead. While Garrett has yet to issue an official clarification or statement, the impact of his words is already being felt far beyond the locker room. Reporters are digging for context, teasing out details of practice interactions and off-field comments. Some hint at a private meeting between Garrett, Sanders, and coaching staff to address the tension and recalibrate focus on team cohesion. Others suggest that the rookie's response in the coming games could either validate Garrett's criticism or demonstrate that he's capable of thriving under pressure. Fans are weighing in with passionate opinions, with some defending Garrett's candor as necessary for team success, while others question whether publicly challenging a rookie in this manner risks alienating young talent. The narrative has taken on a life of its own, amplified by the immediacy of social media and the insatiable appetite for drama in professional sports. Every play, every sideline interaction, and every post-practice interview is being scrutinized for hints of ongoing friction or signs of reconciliation. At the heart of this storm is the complex interplay between performance, expectation, and personality. Garrett's statement, whether ultimately constructive or controversial, has highlighted the delicate balance teams must navigate in managing talent and fostering unity. Shedeur Sanders, meanwhile, has become a focal point not just for fans hoping to see a rookie shine, but for the broader narrative of mentorship, growth, and the pressures inherent in professional football. The Browns coaching staff faces the challenge of converting tension into motivation, ensuring that criticism does not devolve into conflict, and guiding both veteran and rookie toward a common goal. As the story develops, analysts are predicting that the next few weeks could be decisive, both for Sanders' development and for the Browns' locker room dynamics. In the meantime, speculation continues unabated. Every rumor, every snippet of insider information, and every cryptic social media post is being dissected for meaning. Some fans are calling for patience, reminding themselves that this is a high-stakes, high-pressure environment where emotions run deep. Others are already framing Garrett's words as the opening salvo in what could be a dramatic storyline unfolding over the season. The tension is almost tangible, and it's the kind of story that captures the imagination of football fans, creating endless debate, discussion, and anticipation. Will Shedeur Sanders rise to the challenge and prove that he belongs among the NFL elite? Will Myles Garrett's criticism serve as the spark that ignites a breakout performance? Or will it mark the beginning of internal strife that affects the Browns' trajectory? The answers remain uncertain, but one thing is clear. The NFL world is watching, and the rumor, the drama, and the buzz are only getting louder. As of now, Garrett has remained largely silent on official channels, choosing instead to let his presence on the field speak. Yet the echoes of his words linger, sparking conversations in locker rooms, sports studios, and online forums alike. The Browns, a team with ambitions of contending for the postseason, now face the challenge of channeling this intensity in a way that benefits everyone. Meanwhile, Sanders has the opportunity to respond, not just to Garrett, but to the narrative being written around him by fans, analysts, and the media. In sports, moments like these are often remembered, dissected, and mythologized, turning a single comment into a storyline that can define a season. Whether this will be a cautionary tale or a story of triumph remains to be seen, but the buzz is undeniable, and the NFL community is watching closely, hungry for every new development in what is shaping up to be one of the most intriguing subplots of the season. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!